The two things which we have to remember when we prepare a multimedia content. One is called as a linear and another is called as non-linear. What do we mean by actually linear? For example, without direction control of the viewer, such as a cinema. For example, if I am watching a video, we don't have any control over it. You just set the speed as a 1x and then this sequence after sequence is coming. That is 14 frames per second or 15 frames per second sequentially it is coming. That's what we normally call as a linear, right? It's based on our eye perception, our perception time of our eye. It holds an image for 1/14th of a second. That's why 14 frames per second if you put it, it looks as if something has happening continuously. Behind the scene, of course, it's nothing but the various images only. But 14 images, if you display it in 1 second, it looks as if something is a continuous process rather than as a discrete process. You don't feel any jumps and all that. So it looks as if it's something is happening in a continuously, which could be captured by our eye. Very fast, if you put some of the events, it will be lost by our eye. If you put very slow, you feel that it's a jumpy in nature. So generally, we put it as a 10 to 14 frames per second when we make a movie, which gives you a continuous feeling. But this is normally called as a linear scale. That means we don't change the rate at which the pictures are being presented to you. 14 frames per second or 12 frames per second is constant for the entire thing. Only thing is I can vary to some extent. I can vary the speed when I use my software called a VLC software or a movie maker software. I can make it little faster, a little slower based on my requirement. Whereas the non-linear one is one what as a teacher we have to concentrate. Typically, we talks about a video game. For example, if I make a video game, maybe a one-player video game if I am making. When we start playing, we are very slow to react. We search the keys and then type it. It is very, very slow process. But as we start doing it, maybe the second day, third day, fourth day, you are playing the same game. If you find that the same slow speed, if you have to type, you lose the interest. So what happens? You have to make it little more advanced. That means it has to move a little faster. So this scale has to be a non-linear scale. Same way, our e-content delivery also has to be a non-linear scale. For example, some students who are already studied basics about this one, they need not go through again the same rigorous process for 20 minutes, assuming that our video content is for 20 minutes. They can put it in a faster mode, whereas some glimpse of whatever that has been learned, they can cover it maybe in 5 minutes for first 10 minutes. Later on, from the 10th minutes onwards, they can go into a slower pace. So the interactive mode, this is what we normally call the interactive mode. We have to make our e-content delivery as a more of an interactive mode. That means user by pressing some keys, we should make them to either move it forward at a faster rate or move it slower. So this we have to make it. We use something called as a hotkeys in order to perform this particular task. Right? Hotkeys or swap keys we call it, where to make it a little more faster or make it a little more slower. Hypermedia is an example of the, nowadays we have got a hypermedia, which is an integration of the so many media content. When we say media content, we talk about the audio, video, text, data, everything. But the challenge is, when we present a e-content, the problem is our voice has to be synchronized with what we are presenting there, video, and what we are writing as a text. All the three has to be in a synchronized way. When we prepare, we make it as a synchronized way. It has been recorded in a synchronized way, which we have already experienced. But the moment I put it in the web, it won't be in a synchronized way. Because it depends upon your internet connection speed. The recipient, they will be seeing your text first. Your voice will come after 5 minutes. Our video will be coming after 15 minutes. Nobody is going to appreciate our e-content delivery, right? So we need to have something called as a streaming facility wherein the slow internet connecting people, when they access our material, the material has to be acquired for some time, and then it has to be saved, and then it has to be presented to the viewer. Buffering, we call the technical term as a streaming. Okay, so whenever we make a e-content, we call it either as a video on demand or audio on demand or text on demand or multimedia content on demand. We have to ensure that this having a streaming capability. Otherwise, a slow internet user, they may not appreciate our e-content delivery, both in terms of the quality as well as in terms of the time. Another thing is, when we present something, we always anticipated somebody is going to have a laptop or a desktop computer of this kind of a resolution to view our content. Because I prepared for this in my laptop, I feel that it's going to be visible to all my viewers, provided they use the same kind of a laptop. What happens if they use a 17-inch screen? What happens if they use a 40-inch screen? What happens if they use a 5-inch screen? You find that sometimes the quality of the image, what we present, for example, the image I have shown you, is a very poor quality image I have put. Right? That's why madam, she was asking what has been done on the bottom. Right? Because that is meant for a very small one, and I am trying to project it in a very big screen. So the quality or the content quality has been lost there. Right? So when we make our e-content, we can't make this kind of mistakes. So when the recipient is there, somehow it has to have a facility wherein it has to accommodate for the higher as well as the lower resolution. Right? Bringing to a lower resolution is not a major problem, but bringing up to a better resolution is really a challenge. That means we need to have a good quality capturing equipment, digital camera. That's the reason. What do we do? See, probably all of you have prepared e-content now. Same thing you can do it with your video camera also, right? You can do it with your cell phone camera. You can do the same e-content delivery. But you try to project it in the screen and then see how it looks. Because of the poor resolution, you find that it's not at all appreciable. Probably the same person is using the same phone or the same resolution or the screen size, they may be able to appreciate your content. But the moment they project it out on a larger screen, it loses the focus. That's the reason we have to be very, very careful about that. The quality of the equipment what we are using, and thinking in mind where this is going to be projected out. Suppose it is going to be projected in the 70 mm screen, we need to capture it with a higher resolution. The higher the resolution, higher will be the space occupied. Higher the space will be occupied, more the time it will take for somebody to download the stuff. So at the end of the day, Indians are very conscious about the cost. For example, one image comes with say 1 MB. Another same image, it comes with a 10 MB. My cost is going to be 10 times. So I will be very cautious why I should go for a 10 times spending for the same image. So we have to be very, very cautious. So when we make a e-content, also we have to bring it in mind that we have to make maybe a different version. Okay, one maybe for the smartphones, one maybe for the laptops kind of environment, and maybe one for the projecting it on the higher screens. Higher screens, suppose if you want to project it, even if the space is occupied is more, they don't bother. Whereas the person wants to store something in the smartphone, I can't give a 1 GB or 2 GB of my e-content to the end user. So I have to make it as far as possible, I have to make it as a very, very compressed format with a low resolution for the smartphone itself.
This is applicable even when you download images for fast.
Yeah, same.
Download
That's what the same thing I am telling you. Because when we look into the small screen, it looks okay, appropriate, because you're able to read it. The moment we project it, completely we lose the side of it because of the poor resolution. So, mind mapping, probably all of you may be using, right? Mind mapping? No. Okay. Assuming that you are going to talk on a particular topic today, right? Our focus on that particular topic will be on one particular one. Can we just write it in a scale, maybe in the middle of the screen? For example, this is the place, this is the center. I will be writing what is my focus now. Okay. Now, for example, some particular e-learning process is my focus. So this is my focus area. Now, when I want to talk about the e-learning, what are the things I need to cover? I can write it in the second level or the functional level. These are the topics I have to cover. E-learning means I need to talk about the content, right? I need to talk about the resources, right? And I need to talk about the time, and I now need to talk about the cost. Now, when I talk about the content of the e-learning, what are the things I need to cover under the content? So like this, if you prepare, this is what we normally call as a mind mapping of any particular topic. In fact, in our mind we do it, right? And before we deliver our talk or a topic to the students or to the audience, generally we do the mind mapping. Is it possible for you to conceptualize it? So now once if you conceptualize like this, is it possible for me to put some kind of an image here? Instead of this one, time, can I put some image which is more appropriate, which represents the time? For example, I put a clock, 5 minutes clock, something I can put. It will be more appealing. So instead of this, I will put a clock here, replacing the time. Right? This is generally not people they do with a pen and pencil approach, the mind mapping basically. Because this is what normally comes to our mind. Immediately we try to map it. And whatever we do, this kind of an image mapping, always we will remember for a longer time. I know that the moment I put like that, though there should be 4 limbs for my main task. In the 4 limbs, these are the contents will be there. In this content, these are the expansions I need to have. This has been registered in our mind, not as a text, but as an image. Something which has been registered as an image, we don't forget. For example, a particular person whom we have seen 5 years back, okay, we are still able to remember because it has been registered as an image in our brain. The same thing, suppose some article which you have read, maybe 10-line article which you have read on the same day, you remember all those 10-line article. After 4 years, if you ask, I am not able to remember even a single sentence completely of that particular article. Whereas the images, we are able to recapture, we are able to re-visualize it, we are able to map it. That's the reason most of our teaching process we do the mind mapping. Right? There are a lot of tools are available. Those are the tools I just try to put it on the right hand side. Probably, and these tools are free tools. Okay, you can make your own mind mapping tools using this kind of a thing. And VYM is a view your mind. This is a tool, and link is available that has been given. All these tools are free tools. You can freely download and you can install it and then you can use it. As I told you, these are the free tools. You didn't pay for that one, and sometimes it's really very effective. Because generally what happens, whatever you want to cover, rather than writing a 4 pages, you make it as a one image of one paper and just refer that image before going to the class. You know what are the things you have to cover. I know something on the right hand side I have to cover, something on the left hand side, something on the bottom, something on the left side. So with this, we'll come to the end of this session. Any questions if you want to ask, please.
On behalf of all the participants, I thank Balachandran sir for giving us a precise and clear view of the e-tools available to us. Yes, and it is very appropriate to the workshop. Only one question comes in my mind, of course, that we can ignore also, and that is, how well equipped are our students to receive this? Because if that is there, then there is nothing better than this. Maybe we'll have to wait for 5 more years perhaps. Thanks a lot, sir. It was a very, very interesting session.